And I think we are live. I think everything is working okay now. I don't know. Chat, let me know in the audience. I'm using a totally different new program and everything now. Hargeet, you can hear me.
Yep.
Okay. So let us know if you can hear both of us. Yeah. So a lot of issues that were going on behind the scenes there. I couldn't hear the audio. It was rerouted to my television. Like, it was a mess. It was a mess, people. But I am here. So is Hargeet. We are here for Games Talk Live. Another weekend, another Sunday. We're going to have a great time today. We got a lot to talk about. We had the developer direct that just happened last Thursday. Some good games, some, in my opinion, not so good games were shown, but we will get into that. It's all opinions at the end of the day, people. Don't crucify me or Hargeet if we don't agree on certain things, but that's what it's about. Gaming is a very selfish hobby. And yes, I'm very selfish when it comes to gaming. Hargeet, what have you been up to this week, sir?
Yeah, I've been mostly playing the new Prince of Persia, which is okay. I'm like kind of getting to the point of maybe I'll continue or not. It's decent. The headache I always run into with any platforming game is I always end up comparing it to Mario, and Mario is just still world class. All the little things they try to do with these games with platforming puzzles just get more and more irritating. Just whatever. It is what it is. Like, fine. If you liked Ori, you'll like this a lot. It's got a lot of the same kind of feel. There's certainly a Prince of Persia story with it. So, but yeah, it's decent. I'd put it in the 7.5 to 8 category. I don't know how much I've put, probably like 15 hours into it or something like that. But
yeah, a lot of people are liking it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's decent enough, and I haven't played anything else, but I guess this new one that just came up, Palworld.
Oh,
taking everything over. I've not played that yet.
Oh,
but everybody's talking about that.
Yeah. So I've been actually one of those people. My son and I have been playing a lot of this Palworld. I didn't expect much of this game at all. It's very much a survival game with like Pokemon type creatures in it. People were calling it Pokemon with guns. However, I find that it's Hargeet, your volume, they say, is very low. Is there any way to turn that up at all?
Yeah, I'll try to do that. Hang on.
Yeah. And then you can talk and we can make sure that you're getting up there. This is the one thing that I was worried about with this program.
Yeah, so I'm at like mostly full. I'll try to see if I can bump it even higher. Let's sure. Unlock. Okay. All right, that's max.
All right. Is that any better, guys? Yeah.
Otherwise, it might be a level on your side. I'm not sure.
A level on my side. See, this is what I was worried about with all these freaking different. Yeah. Let me see if I can go into here and do anything for you because. Okay. Let me see. I'll go up here and add some. Let's see if I can add a little bit of gain for you. See what happens. I'm sorry, folks. I know this is very riveting right now. Go ahead and talk.
Hello.
How's that sounding, guys? Is that better? All right, go ahead and say something again.
Hello. Is that better? Can you hear me better now?
All right. Okay. So they're saying Hargeet's good. Maybe you're good now. Let's go ahead and let's start the show. Yeah. So I'm playing a bunch of Palworld along with my son. My son's playing as well, and he's actually helped me a lot with this type of game because I don't know anything about it. He said to me the night I downloaded it and stuff. He goes, Dad, he goes, I know people are calling this Pokemon with guns, but this is more like Ark Survival with Pokemon. And I was like, interesting. I never played Ark, so I have no idea. So what I did was, I was playing this game, and then I love a lot of creation in games, and when you could build bases and stuff, I don't know, I get lost in that stuff. So I started doing that kind of stuff. And, you build your little base, you build your little Pokemon, or not Pokemon, but PAL freaking little sleeping areas, and they're feeding, areas and all this stuff. And you get these little creatures to basically become your slaves and do all your work for you at the camp. It's crazy. It's really weird. But this game is really like, it's a bunch of games in one. It's like taking from so many other games. I mean, we're talking Ark, Zelda, freaking all kinds of different games. The Zelda aspect, you can climb literally just about everything, trees, rocks, side of cliffs, but your stamina, will prevent you from going so high, just like in Zelda. And you also have like a little hang gliding thing. They call it a parachute, but it does kind of the same thing that it did in Zelda. And you just run around and you get these pals and you fight bosses and you fight the syndicate, which are like other people that come after you and stuff. But there's also a multiplayer aspect of it. There's that component. And what I hear is, and I don't know if this is true, but I hear that on the Series X, you can have up to 4 people play in your world. But on PC, you can have 32. That's crazy. Yeah. And that's such a big difference. And I don't know why, because this game is not very graphically demanding whatsoever. But it is what it is. It's a simple little game that's fun. And it's kind of taking the world by storm right now. It's sold over 3 million copies already, and it's in early access. So that's pretty interesting. There's also some controversy surrounding this game. I don't know if you heard, but a lot of people on Reddit are basically, they've put together some things that are saying that this company that made this game, they might be using some kind of AI generator to create these pals, and they might be using actual Pokemon to base these characters off of. And they're like comparing Pokemon to certain pals in the game. And they don't know if this is going to get to Nintendo. I mean, if it sells enough, Nintendo probably will look at it and see if this is kind of taking from some of their Pokemon. But I do see what they're saying. It looks like some of these creatures are very much Pokemon-esque in a lot of ways. I mean, with coloration, designs, the stuff that they can do. And I know there's only so much you can do in a game and so many mechanics you can make, but there's definitely some comparisons that do look rather suspicious.
Of AI, right? It can copy from copyrighted material, right? I don't know if they're using ChatGPT's version of it or not, or somebody else's, whatever. But for instance, if you try to do something in Bing, if you do something in Microsoft's OpenAI capabilities, they will block anything that's or they'll hamper something that's a copyright, right? So if you say, hey, make something with an Xbox image or a PlayStation image or something like that, it'll have missing characters, missing letters. It'll warp things a bit because they know that they can't just outright copy, right? So it'll handle a lot of those things. Whereas ChatGPT doesn't seem to have that filter. It just goes ahead and uses it. That's a bit of a problem for them. And if you're going to actually make money off of it, that's a headache. And if they're really, now I don't know if it's Nintendo. I think Pokemon is its own company. They just happen to partner with Nintendo for the games. But Pokemon could absolutely go after them if you're just copying their stuff as is, right? And there's
for sure.
Not really a lot of law on this. And at some point, somebody's going to get like a big lawsuit. And I think there have been a couple, but at some point it's going to be like, hey, Corporation X, you went ahead and took my license stuff.
Yep.
And they're going to lose. They're going to lose. There's no way out of it. If you're basing it on that, and you can see similarities, and you can literally see in the context of AI itself, it's copying what you were telling it to copy, right? So it's It's totally good. They're going to lose. And so it'll be a judgment that they'll have to deal with. And that will be the precedent going forward. Because this is going to be a headache, right? You can't just openly copy somebody's copyrighted stuff just because AI was in the middle of it.
Yeah, facts. And of course, this is all just speculation. And like people are like really digging in this. There's a thread on Reddit, by the way, that are looking into it. But it's interesting to say the least. What other part of this is interesting? I forgot the name of the developer, the studio there, but it's one I've never heard of, and that's why I forgot what they're called. I mean, it's Pocket something, I think. Pocket,
something like that.
I don't know. Anyways, what's interesting though, if you look at their other games, they seem to copy a lot of games. Like all their games are pretty much bit off of other franchises and stuff, and they have their own versions of certain types of games. So what's interesting again is that they put together a bunch of different games into one with this, including a Pokemon-esque style pals, they call them. And I just, for me, it's like, why hasn't Nintendo, done something like this yet? Like, because this seems, honestly, it seems like a Nintendo game. It just straight up speaks to like Switch owners, I'm sure.
Right. And you would expect this game to be on there, but I don't know if Nintendo has a preview program or not. The reason it's on Steam and Xbox is both of them offer a preview program. And that is what the game is in. It's in preview right now. So I don't know what the future holds for the game. But yeah, it certainly seems like it would do well on Nintendo. Could be a launch title for the next Nintendo.
The Nintendo Switch.
Right. And so we can see it there. I assume it'll come to PlayStation at some point, probably. I don't know. There's a little bit of controversy on that too, with some back and forth tweets about whether it's staying exclusive or not. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
But I will say though,
yeah, it is something they could do. The only question is it family friendly enough, right? So what Nintendo tries to do is their main IPs, they basically keep it very family friendly, right? So they try not to make it like, if there's a lot of very violent stuff, they're probably going to shy away from that, right? So that's kind of just the way they are. But yeah, certainly the game itself could go there, as long as, of course, it doesn't have a copyright issue.
By the way, Biff Rinaldi, member for 13 months. Thank you very much. Yep. I don't have access to put the super chats on the screen, unfortunately, using this program. But I will say this, Biff. He says, I'm thinking about streaming this one for a bit. It looks interesting. Yeah, a lot of streamers are streaming this game. This is a lot of what's going on right now. It's one of those games that is very streamable, very stream friendly. And also it's addictive. It's very addictive. There's a lot going on within the game. And once you figure it all out, it's not hard to figure out. Once you do though, it just opens up to this like really cool little game. It's something where I don't have to put too much thought into it as I'm playing, as I'm in a party chat, say. It's great. Like I sat there for about an hour when I was talking to you, Hargeet, the first night I was playing this, and all I was doing was building a base, seeing how high I could get it. And I went past like where you should go. Like I was so high up that when I looked down, I could see nothing but fog. That's how high up I built the base. And don't ask me why I did that, but I was just in a party chat and I was like, let me see how much wood I can get to do this. And I just kept climbing it and building this base so high. And yeah, I basically broke it, because when I got so high and I started trying to look around, it was just choppy. It was like the frames couldn't handle it. And I ended up just jumping off, killing myself, and then just destroying the whole base and remaking a new one. I don't know. I just like to test games out like that sometimes. I'm weird like that. By the way, Christopher Axelson, I think that's how you say your name. I'm sorry if I butchered it. He says, Fonz, where's Dealer Gaming? Thanks for the super chat, by the way. Dealer is going through some stuff personal. I'm in contact with him loosely. I was in, let's just say the dealer's doing fine. He just needs time before he comes back, but he says that he will be back. Whether or not that happens, I have no idea, but this is what he's told me. So just know that he is okay. He's just going through a lot of personal stuff. So it's that. Yeah, a lot of people are asking about Dealer. Dealer's one of my best friends. He's an amazing guy. He's huge in the community. Of course, Hargeet, you're also mutual friends with him. So we're all hoping for the return of Dealer Gaming for sure. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, get a lot of questions, but that's basically the gist of what's going on right now with him. But going back to Palworld though, you got to try it, Hargeet. And we got to get in game together and mess around with some stuff because I need some help, damn it. And the reason is because I'm trying to go up against some of these big bosses within the world, and you just need some help. Like you have to have other people with you. It's one of those games where, yeah, you can do most of the game on your own, but there's those bosses that just take, a group to really take it down easily. I'm sure you could do it solo if you're, an amazing gamer or whatever, or you're just high level or whatever, but I'm not there. So yeah, I can use the help.
This is real live action, not turn-based, right?
Yeah. It's all live action. It's
good. All right,
yeah,
cool.
Got to catch them all, man. All the pals, got to catch them all.
Nice.
But
all right.
So wait, the Souza says, "Nah, Hargeet, stick with Redfall."
Redfall.
Gee, I know.
Why would I play Redfall?
Did you like Redfall?
No, it was okay. I think the ratings were about
terrible.
Right. It was, I played it on PC, so it was a little bit better, but still, it was not. It's just meh, right? It didn't have any character that made it feel like it was something compelling to play. It was meh, and that was, being able to play it on PC. I'm sure it was even worse on console, right? So we played it for like a bit, maybe like a few hours, and then never went back. That was my experience. Some people liked it, and good for them. Whatever. For me, it just wasn't compelling enough to keep playing. So, it had like, I kind of expect an indie to give you that kind of game, right? If it was like 20 people making that game, okay, fair enough. But when I saw the cutscenes were PowerPoint presentations, I'm like, no, just no. Come on, really? Like you really phoned it home here. Like this is just not. It's just you didn't care, right? And if you don't care, then why should I? That's kind of how I felt about it. Then the missions were kind of like repetitive. It just seemed whatever. Same thing.
The Souza, are you asking because you're really interested in knowing where the DLC for Redfall is, or are you just asking because it had a season pass? Yeah, he's asking about the DLC because it did have some sort of season pass, right? You can actually buy a. Yeah, I believe so.
Supposedly 2 extra characters and whatnot too, but I didn't care. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. Anyways, this is not, we're not talking about Redfall here. Let's get on and talk about the first topic here, which of course was that developer direct. Now let's start with we'll go with the games one by one. Oh, wow. It says Iron Lords podcast and their viewers just joined. Welcome.
All right.
ILP. I appreciate you guys. ILP, by the way, is my favorite gaming podcast out there. Just saying.
By the way, you have a member chat from Sith Lord. I don't know if we want to read that.
Where's that? Before I lose it?
Yeah, it's the first one. It's a member for 3 months. Hi, gentlemen. That direct was 12 out of 10. Need indie now.
Yes, Sith Lord, right. I love you, but it wasn't a 12 out of 10 to me. I gave it a 6, and don't hate me. 6 is an average score. I said it was an average direct for me. I love developer directs. It doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy the show. I enjoyed it, but not all the games were for me. And we're going to get through, we're going to talk about them. We're going to deep dive on this for sure. But the developer direct happened, and Hargeet, let's shift focus. Let's talk about each game individually. Let's talk about the first game. I don't want to talk about the first one they showed because that one was Avowed. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, let's leave that because I think Avowed is one of the better games. Let's start with Aura, a game that most Xbox guys dubbed the bathroom break game because honestly, that's what a lot of people were saying in the chat. when that game was going, when Gaz was on, I was watching Gaz's stream as well as watching it on my OLED. And Gaz, his chat was like, "Oh, bathroom break." As soon as Aura came on, Oxide, they just said, "Nope, I'm not watching this," and they all took a bathroom break. Aura History Untold, strategy game, much like Civilization, those types of games. It doesn't speak to many console gamers, so I get it. I get it why a lot of people decided, "Hey, this is my bathroom break." But Hargeet, you did tell me that this looked interesting to you.
Yeah, since the last one, they had a little bit of a preview trailer for it, and it started to look interesting. Like what they're trying to do here was looking interesting, and this just furthered the same thing. Look, you have to like want to play a strategy game. I'm with you. I'm not much of a strategy game guy. This is a 4X, but I'm not usually into that kind of game. But I've played the hell out of Halo Wars. And there are times when like you just throw in an Age of Empires and it's kind of cool. It has like a potential to just sink some time into it. I like this one has an interesting mix where you're kind of changing the course of history, right? So it seems kind of interesting in that you can play around with what each empire did and how they interact. And like I want to see what the heck that means and how that plays out. Right. It's also simultaneous play, so usually it's turns and each person does whatever they have to do, whatever, right? But this is more simultaneous, but we'll see how it plays out. I think it's multiplayer. I believe it's multiplayer, but so that could be another interesting twist. So I'd love to see what they do with it. And like again, I'm not like abandon all other games to play this, but I'm also not saying hey, just throw it away. So I didn't take it as a bathroom break. I'm actually kind of interested in what
you're saying. Throw it away.
No. I think it'll be kind of. It's not coming to console, right? Like Age of Empires 4, right? It's PC first. Maybe eventually it'll get a port to console, but it'll be on PC sometime this year. So hopefully it'll be good. But here's the problem, and we'll probably have to talk about this later a bit more.
Okay.
Everything's coming out in the fall, and that's kind of a big problem.
Yes.
Because not only is it going to conflict with other fall games, but there's a whole console supposedly coming out with Nintendo in the fall, and it's going to have a launch lineup. And so that's going to compete for time. On top of Xbox releasing like all their exclusives in the fall. That's going to take up some time, right? And then you usually have the fall big releases. This is crazy to put all this stuff. Like, I don't know if I'll get time to actually play the game. That'll be the problem, right? Because if they're going to put it out with all these other games right, that got announced, I'm going to play Indy over this. That's just the fact. That's just the way it is. I'm not going to play Aura over Indy, right? But Indy is scheduled for 2024. What does that really mean? Fall? Because where else are you going to put it? You're not going to put it in the summer. That's just not going to happen. Summer's going to be like what is it, Flight Sim 2024, right? That's going to be a summer game, right? We already got Senua in May. They're going to do that in fall, right? And they got Avowed fall, and they got Aura fall, and they got Call of Duty fall, and they have a whole bunch of other games they haven't announced. They're also coming fall, and then you have a whole console. And I'm like, dude, this fall is going to suck. There's no way I'm going to get to this. So though I'm interested in playing Aura, I'll just be realistic. I don't think I'll have the time. Just there's going to be too many games.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the disappointment. This would be good now. If they released it in February, that's a good time to put it out because there's not a lot coming out right now. So
remember when there was a rumor that something would be shadow dropped during the developer direct? That would have been a perfect time for this game, right?
They told us no. Yeah, this would be great.
It would have been perfect
be a
for
shadow
that.
stealth drop, but it would have been great if they dropped this out, in January. That's perfect. But no, they're dropping it sometime in fall with everything else. So I think that's kind of a bummer. I think that's going to make it harder for it to gain traction. For those in the 4X environment, they're probably going to love it. That's fine. And hopefully it does well for them. But I'm a little disappointed that they're putting it in that market time frame. There's like everything else is coming out. As it is, I think there's too many games coming out from Microsoft. Forget everybody else. Right? So I don't know. This is going to be a problem for them, I think. I think it should come out in the summer or earlier.
Well, I have something to say a little bit later about the whole fall thing. We'll discuss that when we get into another title for sure. So we also had Hellblade 2. Hellblade 2, Ninja Theory, of course, did their thing. And boy, did they do their thing yet again. And I say again because, and I want to stress that, they don't seem to show much of their game. Everything we saw with Hellblade 2 is pretty much everything we've seen already. And, you know, again, they showed a bunch of backstage, you know, this is what we do with the mocap and hey, here's Iceland again. Look at how beautiful it is. And I'm like, but the game, show the game. And I'm like, so it dawned on me, okay, why am I hyping myself up for something that I know is not really for me? And I'm not disrespecting Ninja Theory Hellblade 2, nor am I disrespecting anybody who loves the first game. I did not. So what I've seen so far of Hellblade 2 is exactly what I've seen from Hellblade. So it's going to be the same type of game. Matter of fact, they've already announced that it's going to be just about as long as well. So 6 to 8 hours is what you're going to get out of this game. So Hargeet, I mean, what do you think? Hellblade 2, man.
Yeah, so this is my and people are going to hate it, but this is my like least interesting game. I'm with you on the same thing. I finished the first one, but it was meh to me. It was okay. I'm kudos to the team to do, to tackle that subject. Awesome, great, but ultimately the game has to be fun too. So I just didn't like, the puzzles were okay. The fighting was terrible. And like the game was, it was visually stunning. It was for the development team or whatever it was, 10, 12 people. They punched above their weight. Fine, cool. But ultimately I want a game that I can have fun with. Mm-hmm. And it was meh to me. I would like put that at a 7-ish, right? It was meh. It's not terrible. It's just not great either. And like, and that's what I'm expecting from this. Thankfully it is short. That actually makes it more viable that I might play and finish it. But like if this was a 20-hour, like I'm sure I would just give up. Like if it's not going to be substantially better than what I had before, then like, yeah, whatever. Right. So, but I'm with you. I don't have a lot of expectations for this. Everybody wants this to be like the visual showpiece, and maybe it is. And honestly, I'd never cared about graphics. So that's not really what I'm going after. I want fun. So to me, I'm looking for that gameplay.
I love graphics, and that's the only reason why I'm looking forward to this game, right? Like, yes, it's in Game Pass. I'm going to boot it up. If I end up liking it, great. If I don't, no hard feelings, because I mean, I knew what I should have expected. You know what I'm saying? Like I've already tried the first game and I couldn't get through it. So if this game isn't for me, again,
why hype it, right? And
not
like
a big deal
for those who want it, awesome, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Type of game, awesome, and that's what's beautiful about like Xbox. They're giving you a 4X game with a sad walking simulator game with a first-person shooter with an RPG and another RPG, right? Like they're giving you all sorts of different varieties of games, right? That's the beauty of it. If something's for you, that's awesome. That's the whole point.
Yep.
Right. Come and play the game. That's what they're doing. But that's just not like it's okay. Those kind of games are okay. But unless it's got like an awesome like game loop, like, So I don't know. I haven't, to your point, I have not seen enough of the gameplay to say, okay, this is definitively awesome looking. All I've seen is like maybe 30 seconds of actual like combat. Right. I think we've seen more documentary than this game is going to be in length.
Yes. We've seen more of Iceland already than we have of Hellblade. It's like, that's for sure.
Which again, I'm not trying to knock them, but it is what it is. And like, I just at this point, just release the game. We'll play it, and if it's of any value, it's whatever. My expectations is like a mid to low 80s meta game, and hopefully it'll be decent.
What was the first one meta? What was?
I think it was mid 80s, something like that.
Yeah. Expect the same. Like that.
Yeah, I would say it's probably in the same category. I don't think.
Well, no, it might be less because it's on Xbox now. So there's that, you know.
But I'll look it up. Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice was an 84.
Okay, sounds about right, I guess. You know.
So I'm thinking in that mid to low 80s, right? That's kind of where this should be, and that's fine. That's a perfectly good game. That's fine. But yeah, I'm not as hyped for this one as I am for the other one.
Look at that. More backstage, guys. More. This is what Melina did. Yep. This is facial capture again.
Yep. Yeah, you got plenty of that. Right? Hours and hours of that.
Oh, we got hours of that. Yeah. It's like, geez. But I will say the combat looks so brutal. It does look great. That visually, this game is probably the best looking game I've witnessed yet. Like, that's how good I think this game looks. When you see the close-ups of their face and their eyes and their skin, everything looks like Uncanny Valley almost.
Yeah, right.
It's almost there, and I can't take that away from them. Ninja Theory are masters at creating graphical, like, impressive games, and I mean, this is so freaking on par with anything, even better than a Naughty Dog or,
Well, Insomniac in the leaks, we
Rockstar.
found out they're looking to. Was it in the leaks or was it just in general? They were looking to match the fidelity of Ninja Theory with Hellblade. So obviously, people are taking notice, right? So if they are, then there's a reason. So the fidelity is kind of there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it looks incredible. I just hopefully, I'm not going to say I wish this game was different, because look, this is their vision. This is what they want to put forth to the gaming masses. I just hope with their next project they go back to another like action adventure type game. Because they have so many different types of games that they've made over the years. These guys are really incredibly talented studio here for sure. I'm a huge fan of Heavenly Sword from back in the day on the PS3. I know a lot of people would call it like a God of War clone or whatever with a female protagonist, but give me that again. I'll take it for Xbox. Like I love that style of gameplay. So I could see them doing all, just some amazing work for Xbox. So just because this is not my cup of tea, this is not what I'm necessarily into. This is a huge game for Xbox. It's a great game for their gamers for sure. But yeah, that's Hellblade 2, guys. And they gave us a release date, May 21st.
Yeah, we have one release date. Yay.
Yeah, May 21st.
Yeah.
No,
it'll come out springtime. We'll see it before the showcase. Let's see what happens, and then showcase comes. We'll see what that does.
Yep, for sure. Let's go ahead and move to the heavier hitters, actually. No, let's talk about the one that was a surprise. I love what they did there, by the way, with that. How they gave us, this screen showing just these 4 games, and then all of a sudden you had this one come in, unknown user pop up, and it was Square Enix of all people and of all studios. And that kind of shocked me. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know about that. I didn't hear about that. Hargeet, were you surprised by that, or did you already hear? No, you were.
No, I was surprised that it was Square. I would have figured. So this is one of the questions we had, right? Is this developer direct a sort of Xbox exclusives, focused showcase, or is this, anything goes, right? So if it's anything goes, you can get something like that, right? I think I was going in with the assumption this was going to be all Xbox exclusives, right? So that was kind of what my thought process was. So whatever would show up, it would show up being something from first party or second party, right? Something like Towerborn or Ara or, Flight Sim or something like that, or directly South of Midnight or Clockwork Revolution or something like that, right? That would make more sense. No, they went with a third party. Well, at least that we know for now. Third party in Square Enix.
Here you go again with that acquisition talk. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, but hey, I mean, it's kind of an oddity, isn't it, to have that there? But hey, they put in a third party. This is supposedly a multi-plat release, right? This is going to be everywhere. But they're bringing it here. That's kind of interesting in that the partnership is sort of elevated now that they're putting a Square Enix game in an Xbox showcase, and a pretty focused showcase. This isn't a general 20-30 games showcase. This is pretty focused, and they're spending time on this. So that's a pretty good deal. It shows the level of partnership increase, right? The level of change and trust as far as Sony PlayStation being the main focus of Square Enix's marketing to switch over to now being Xbox. That's an interesting thought, and we'll see if they kind of continue that with the Mana series, and maybe Final Fantasy series stays on the other side, or maybe it swaps around. We'll see how it goes, right? And there's potential for the new Nintendo to have a lot more play with Square as well. They have had several exclusives from them, so that could continue, and now they could potentially play everything. And if that's the case, you could see the next Final Fantasy. Maybe they go Nintendo and market it that way, but no exclusivity. They just release it everywhere, which would make sense for them.
It's funny you mentioned the marketing rights, because the power that it has is so strong.
Yeah.
It's so strong, people, that when this was first announced, Hargeet got me on this, by the way. I was thinking, and I'm somebody, you got to keep in mind, I'm somebody who keeps up with the news and the industry and the games and all that stuff. So if I kind of thought, immediately when I saw this, oh, wow, is this like a timed exclusive for Xbox? This is great. Think about the casual out there, because Hargeet said, no, that's just marketing rights, man. See the power of marketing rights? It duped you. And it's exactly what we talk about when we say casual gamers out there, those that don't really pay attention to the industry like we do here. They will think, when they see games like this and it's being marketed for one platform, they think, oh, it's only on that platform. And that's exactly what happens.
Yep.
So,
and that's where the strategy of longer term doing third party, but just own a lot more content, because you market all this content. Even if you said, like, say 1 out of 5 games is exclusive, it'll set that pattern in the industry that people will think, oh, well, if they marketed it, must be exclusive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even though it may not be, 80% of the games may go everywhere. It doesn't matter. They just assume it's going to be, and that's what happens. That's the power of the marketing, right? But yeah, like it's cool that this was here, though. I don't know if this is going to be the pattern going forward, that we just assume it's anything can be in the developer direct. I was kind of hoping it would be first party stuff or second party stuff, right? So, but
yeah, that is true. With a developer direct, usually, I was under the impression that this was just first party for Xbox. However, I'm glad that they moved outside of first party. And the reason being is because these developer directs, in my opinion, I said it a couple of shows ago with you, I think they're the best shows out of any company out there, or any studio that comes out there and makes anything, PlayStation, Nintendo, their plays and directs are just not as good as these are. I love the way these are set up. I love that it's the developers talking to us, telling us about their game and showing their game. I love these. This is the format that I think they should stick with. And we were all hoping they'd stick with it last year when they first did this. And it seems like they are. They've listened to the masses. This is what we like, and this is what they're going to go forward with. It's perfect. And now that they're adding that third-party element into it, beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, and it looks like we'll probably always get some sort of a surprise announce. Not necessarily a shadow drop or a stealth drop, but a surprise announce.
Yep.
Which is cool. That's cool.
No,
right?
It's
That'd
really
be good.
cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So, again, let's get into the heavier hitters now. And I say heavier hitters because this is just personal to me. We'll start with Avowed, because I am still very much looking forward to Avowed, despite what a lot of people say out there, and despite some of the jank that I saw. Avowed is still looking really good to me. It's shaping up to be a game that I'm sure Obsidian is going to, I think they're going to kill it with this game. I do. A lot of people out there, I've seen a lot of naysayers talk so negatively about this game since it's been shown last Thursday. There's a lot of people that are even saying things, making whole videos saying, hey, I'm no longer hyped for this game anymore. And I'm like, based on that little bit of what you saw, like, come on. So for you, are you interested in Avowed? Are you interested?
Yeah, I've been interested in Avowed for, ever since they announced it. I think it's going to be awesome. I've tried to play their isometric versions, right? And I can only go so far for some reason. I just don't get into the isometric games. So, so I kind of just stopped. But story-wise, it was there. And then there was Outer Worlds, which was fantastic.
Great game.
They've done KOTOR 2.
New Vegas.
They've done New Vegas, right? So they've done some pretty good stuff, right? This is so Obsidian and inXile were Interplay before, right? And they created Fallout, for instance, and sold that off to BGS, right, to Bethesda. But now they're all in the same same company now, but In Exile took on some of the stuff, and Obsidian took on some of the stuff. And they're both really good developers, but they've had a DNA of massive RPGs for a long time, right? So yeah, I've been looking forward to Avowed because like the format is now more what I want to see. It's that first person or third person. In this case, I think it's first person, right? I don't know if they'll let you flip, but perspective, and you're just playing normal as an RPG, and I think that's going to be more compelling. The character models, if you've played the other ones, you recognize those monsters. They kind of are what are in that universe. They're just jazzed up, and they're kind of in that first person view now. So it looks good to me. I don't see the anything that's detracting. Again, I'm not a graphics guy. I don't care. I care for gameplay more. So if it looks good, that's great. If it plays well, that's what matters. And the different combat styles, that let you swap between sword and shield, like a magic wand, your hand gesture thingy, right? You have a gun, you have a bow and arrow. Like you can just swap between all this stuff. That sounds pretty cool to me, right? So that means I can do things different ways. However I want to play a situation, that's cool, right? And we'll see what that means as far as the RPG elements, what I get to expand on as far as capabilities and whatnot, right? And what I can grow for skill sets. Like that sounds awesome to me. They have a pretty good team as far as the writing. So, the last few games they put out have been pretty good.
That's where they excel, right? In my opinion. Right? It's the writing.
Pentiment, for instance, right? I was blown away by what I was playing. I'm like, what is this? I don't even know what the heck's going on. But really good storytelling. So, that, and then Grounded, which, I mean, the story, meh, but good God, you can pour hours. I've put 194 hours in that game. You can pour hours in that game, and that's small. A lot of people put even a lot more hours in that game. So crazy, right? Small team, but what they can accomplish, right, with just the game loop, making it fun. And Outer Worlds was fantastic. I loved it.
Me too.
So I'm hoping it's just more of that. Like, just bring it on. Yeah, let's get the story. Let's get the RPG. Let's go.
Yeah, that's one thing I really want to stress on here. For me, Obsidian, it's always been about that narrative. They've always been really good at writing in their games. And that's one of the takeaways that I think people got wrong with this. I see a lot of people out there talking about the dialogue within this game, what they showed anyway. I think parts of that dialogue, especially that second character that said something about being a dumb baby or whatever, I think the point was that was supposed to be kind of the silly, goofier dialogue within the game. I think it was meant to be silly. I don't think it was meant to be like, I think it was meant to get a chuckle out of some people. I really do. I think that wasn't meant to be serious, because in their games, they do stuff like that. With New Vegas, you had goofy and silly characters within that too, and some dumb dialogue that was funny or whatever. I don't think that was meant to be too serious. Now, where I say that the game kind of looks, or not looks, sounds kind of jank, is when the dialogue was happening. I think there was something off about when that particular character was talking. The sound design or something is just not complete yet. I don't think it's like fully fleshed out. I think it sounded weird to me. It was a bit odd. It was almost like there was these weird pauses as he was talking, and it seemed like it just wasn't completed yet. And one person said to me I was on a show, I was on Cassie's show, by the way, the other night, and there was somebody in the chat, I believe, and they had told me that they think that maybe that was AI. Now, I at first I was like, nah, that's a voice actor, right? But here's the funny thing. So I started digging deeper into Obsidian, and I found out that they use AI when they're developing games. So they use AI voices when they develop the games. And they said because you can get so much emotion and stuff out of AI characters now, that it really lends well to their creation process before they get the actors to come in and voice the parts. So as they're creating that stuff, they're using these AI voices. And I was just wondering, maybe that guy was onto something. And the guy's on the screen, by the way, now, that had the weird dialogue that people were kind of picking apart. But again, I think this was meant to be kind of silly. But this voice, I'm not going to say it's AI. It could be a real person that did it, and it's just not well put together yet, or whatever. But if it is AI, it's not out of the realm of possibilities, because during the creation, this is one that they could have left in there at this point in the creation process. So maybe they're not done with the game or whatever. Of course, they're not done yet, because this game's not out until the fall. But maybe this was one of those things where they left an AI part in. I don't know. It's interesting though.
Or they could just use AI for some of the NPCs. I mean, just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
It does make it faster, right? So you can kind of do what you want. But look, there's good and bad with AI modeling, right? There's an aspect to telling an actor, I want this kind of feeling from this line.
Yep.
And then they just go and put that in there for you because they understand what you're saying. And maybe AI will figure it out. Maybe they won't, right? So, but there is something of like a human voice actually like putting their emotion into it. Versus what the AI can think you want. But in a lot of cases, if there's a lot of dialogue, it is kind of convenient. Just let AI say it out.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it'll get like 80-90% there. And it won't be perfect, but it'll be good enough, right? So it's viable, totally viable. And this is something that Microsoft's been looking at, right? They want to take advantage of AI. It's one of their big, huge initiatives at the company. So any chance to do that is probably good for them. That's probably why they're going to, they probably would use it. Why not? So it wouldn't surprise me if they're using AI.
Yeah, but, they were. I guess they use it during the development of all their games now. So
yeah,
they used it for Outer Worlds and their other games too. So I figured, that guy could be onto something. Maybe he knew that. Maybe that's why he mentioned it. I don't know. But whoever said that to me in the chat, had me looking. I was definitely researching. Did they use AI for these voices in Avowed? And I came across that. And there's a whole video on YouTube, by the way, that talks about, it shows Obsidian talking about why they use AI in their games, AI voices and stuff. It's really interesting. So, yeah, I mean, you guys are right. I see you guys talking about in the chat. AI is going to become, something to be reckoned with in the industry for sure. Whether it's voices, coming up with freaking new created characters and stuff like we were talking about earlier with Palworld, the potential that they were using some type of AI to develop some of those characters and stuff. There's just a lot of AI usage going on right now, and it's crazy, especially what they could do with film now in AI. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they could have you look like you robbed a bank or something, or have you saying that you robbed a bank.
Crazy shit.
Yeah. Just nutty stuff you can do with AI now.
Yep.
The world is getting different. Very, very different. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Avowed. People that were like, I was seeing all these videos of people talking badly about the game and stuff. And I'm like, let these developers work, man. Let these developers come out with these games and then pass your judgment. I mean, of course you could say, yeah, that looks janky. That doesn't look like my type of game. You could say those things, but to come outright and just say, that game's trash or whatever, stop it. Game's not out yet.
But that's the way it goes, right? A lot of people have very specific tastes, and it is what it is. It's not going to be for everybody.
For sure,
right? It's just the way it is.
Yeah. All right. So next we had, of course, the big one, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Now, all right. So originally I was hoping this game would be third person. That's what I wanted. I wanted Xbox, and it's more because I wanted Xbox to have that third person action adventure game to kind of, I guess, compete with what Sony has done for their pretty much every first party game over there. I just wanted to have that one game, just like Cognito says, just one. We've talked about it for years. We want a game like that on Xbox. However, once I saw Machine Games talk about this game, I might as well pull it up. I was very on point. I thought it was on point for them to go ahead and make this game first person. I think it was the right choice. And that's why my thumbnail, of course, says the right choice, because it indeed, I feel, is the right choice. It's Machine Games. What do they do well, Hargeet? First person shooters. Yeah. Very, very well. What have I been asking for? Like, I was just asking somebody, it might have been Colt or maybe a WhatsApp group with Colt and Gaz and some other people in there. And we were talking. I said, man, I really want another Wolfenstein game. So for me, when I look at this game, it's very much less gruesome, less gore anyway, but it does look a lot like Wolfenstein in many, many ways.
Yeah.
Plus, you're punching Nazis in the face. Like, same kind of deal. Love it. I'm looking forward to this even more now than I thought I was when I first wanted a third-person game. Because Machine Games does first-person shooters well, but they also do very well in the narrative department, and they also do well in just that pacing of the game. Action-packed. Like, you play any Wolfenstein game, and it's just action-packed, man. And what does Indiana Jones need? An action-packed game. This is perfect for Machine Games. People that are naysaying this game at all, if you hear anybody say anything negative about Machine Games and what they're doing with Indiana Jones, they're way off base. Way off base. This is the perfect studio to do Indiana Jones. What do you got to say about this, Hargeet?
Yeah, I mean, look, I kind of heard about the first person quite a while ago.
Yeah, you were one of those guys, huh?
I kept dropping hints. It's going to be first person. Like, I wanted to be third person. It's going to be first. So it did not surprise me that it was first person. I kind of knew that was going to happen. But look, it still looks awesome. My only complaints are no release date, which means it's going to be fall. And then your voice actor is not Harrison Ford. You have his likeness, the character, but not the voice. And is it Troy Baker? I think is the one doing it.
Troy Baker, I think he does an adequate job of a younger Harrison Ford. It's not spot on, but it's good enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, it could be okay, but it's like, you went so far. You got Harrison Ford's likeness. You obviously have to pay the dude for that. So why not just get the freaking voice too? It would just be perfect, like just full on indie. I mean, it looks like it's a love letter to Indiana Jones of the original.
It is.
It was like the first couple of movies, right? And so it looks like it's going to be pretty good. I hope that, story wise, it'll be good and it'll play well. Machine Games should be able to do a pretty good job here. But as far as the gameplay, it looked good to me. It was enough for me to want to play it. And I mean, it doesn't matter. It's in Game Pass. I'm going to play it anyway, but it just really, it looks like it's exactly what we should be expecting Machine Games to do with Indiana Jones. So, it was definitely a hit in the, in this, lineup. I all the games are generally pretty good in their own right, but Indiana Jones, I think, was a step above. Avowed was pretty good, but Indiana Jones is the one that was like the hype machine for me for this one.
For sure.
If you compare it to like last year's Direct, where the games were Elder Scrolls Online update, Minecraft Legends, we had Redfall, and we had Hi-Fi Rush, which was the thing that stole the show. And then we had another one. What was the last one? Do you remember? Oh yeah, Forza Motorsport. Okay, and so of those games, my hype level for that was like, because like Redfall looked meh, and it turned out to be meh. I was hoping it'd be something cool with Arcane, but it never turned out to be anything. So Motorsport, I wasn't that interested in anyway. And Minecraft Legends, okay. I almost never pay attention to the Elder Scrolls Online stuff, which, by the way, we had more of that after the Direct. So this Direct for me was better. I have more interest in Avowed and Indy. Visions of Mana looks kind of interesting too.
Yeah, it does. It the combat looks good to me. Right? Definitely looks good.
And then Senua's Saga, I wanted to see what the heck it ends up being. Right. So I think this Direct overall was pretty good. Indy, I definitely was the biggest one for me. I was happy they left it till the end. We got to see the most of it. So pretty good job.
If you need some water, man, take a drink if you need it. But Indiana Jones, I think they're doing a freaking great job with this at Machine Games. I was expecting, again, that third person action adventure type game, and then it going into first person with the puzzles. That's what I was visualizing, right? But it's still first person with the puzzles, but you get the third person perspective when he's like sliding on the, his whip and, that sort of stuff.
Climbing
and to me, the third person moments, some of it, not all of it, some of it looks kind of jank. Some of it does.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's really where Machine Games excels anyway. So that's why I said this is the right choice for them. I think you can't go wrong with a first person perspective for the shooting, for the whip. And everything you could do with the whip, by the way, was really interesting. Cool. Like I never thought of using the whip as a distraction tool. Like for stealth elements. Like I would never think to use it that way. You crack it over here and the enemy looks over there and you run around and flank. I never knew that could be done. That's something that's ingenious. I like that element. So I think they're on the right path with this. They made the right choice. I'll argue with anybody all day between the third person and first person thing when it comes to this game and Machine Games. I think it's the right choice.
Yeah, and the thing with unfortunately, everybody always wants to compare everything to the other platforms. Look, I'll say this: PlayStation has a massive catalog problem. They don't have any games that come close to the amount of variety you get from their competitors. Okay, both Nintendo and Xbox have a massive variety in comparison to what PlayStation puts out. Right? Where's PlayStation's fighting game? They don't have one. They just don't. They don't have nothing there, right? And
where's their first person shooter?
Yeah, well, I mean, they finally get Marathon, I guess. I don't know.
But I mean,
they bought Bungie. They bought Xbox's old studio.
They bought Bungie, but before that, I mean, they haven't had a first person shooter since I don't know Killzone, which was you can just abysmal in my opinion.
Can they match this? They can't. What's their Western RPG studio? Well, they don't have one. Where's their RTS? What RTS? Right? They have the Senua Saga equivalents, okay, but that's all they have, right? So it's cool that you want to compare everything Xbox puts out to what PlayStation puts out, but I just don't see the point, right? Because Microsoft puts out games that the developer wants to put out. I am happy they don't go to to Ninja Theory and say, no, this got to look like God of War. No, make the game you want to make. If it's a 6-hour game, fine. That's what you want to make that game. We're not going to go to Obsidian and tell them how to make Avowed. No, they know what they're doing. Go make your game. What do you need for resources? We'll make it happen. And Indiana Jones, we don't need to tell Machine Games and Todd Howard how to make a game. Like, go make the game. Just make the game you want to make, right? And
Facts.
It's like they've got a proven record. They can go make the game, right? If you need more funding, great. If you can make it even better, great. Let's do that. I lost Double Fine with Psychonauts 2. You need more money to make it better?
Oh my God.
Problem. Here,
Psychonauts 2 was an amazing game. Amazing game.
So like I'm much happier with that because I'll get massive variety, which to me, I mean, look, I literally played over 200 games last year, right? I play all varieties of games. I'll try everything, right? If it's for me, it's for me. If it's not,
yep,
it's not, right?
I can attest to that. I'll get in party chats with this man, and I'll be all, "What are you playing?" And he's like, "2-Step Part 2." Like, what's 2-Step Part 2? Like, I never heard of it.
Right? So, but so that's the thing. Like, so I like the variety, right? And Nintendo does that. They have like all sorts of different types of games, and Xbox does that. It's PlayStation that's trying to catch up. They're the ones who are saying we got to flip to all games as a service games. That's a stupid idea to do everything that way. But they do need to have variety, right? They used to have variety. They don't have it anymore. And that's going to be one of their. So I don't care to compare these games to PlayStation games. I care to see, is it fun for me, right? Am I getting value for my money? Is the studio making a game they want to make? And is the game fun for me? And that's really all that matters. So if the game is good, I'm happy. I don't care about the comparisons so I don't care if it looks like Uncharted. I don't care, right? Uncharted, the last one to me, like the last two were okay, right? I think like 1 and 2, 1 was meh, 2 was good, 3 was okay, 4 became kind of mundane. I don't know. It just became kind of, okay, I'm just doing the motions here. Just meh. So, and then the Lost Legacy or whatever it was called, the one with the offshoot, that was okay as well. Like, again, so Uncharted is kind of like, Tomb Raider has done pretty well. Like the last few Tomb Raiders have been pretty good. So if you wanted to compare it to one of those, I would compare it to that one. But again, I don't think it matters. They're all spiritual successors of this. Indy is the game. Indy is the platform that like created all that, right? So it's the IP that created all that. And I'm happy to see what they do with it, right? This is a sanctioned game by Disney and Lucas, right? So hopefully it fits somewhere in the canon. So we'll see what it looks like and what the game does. But I'm excited to see what this does and you know how they put it together. They certainly seem to like Indiana Jones, right? So it's not from people who don't understand the content.
Oh no!
So
this is a love letter to Indiana Jones
right,
fans right here.
Yeah,
straight up, the way it looks and everything. And I've seen a lot of people's reactions to the game since, and I've even seen people that are just movie buffs into Indiana Jones review this trailer, and they're like, "Wow, this looks so good," you know. And that's amazing, man. Like, is exactly what you need with an Indiana Jones franchise.
Indiana Jones music turns on.
My God. Like, and the fact that they got a composer that is trying to be just like John Williams and really have the essence of making that sort of style music, it perfect. Yeah. Just, you know, that's what you need.
Very much looking forward to it. Just when is it coming out? And I think it just said 2024, right?
This is where I said that I was going to bring up something about the fall situation, because you said there's a lot of games coming out in the fall. God. I don't believe this is one of them. I feel like it's going to get bumped. I feel like this is going to get bumped into the first part of 2025, probably spring, for various reasons. I think it was very vague. They never, like with the other games, they mentioned fall, right? Or, you know, there was something there mentioned, but this just said 2024. Yeah. So I have a feeling that this is something that they're thinking about. Hey, we could possibly get this out later this year, but if it doesn't, that's okay. We can slide that into 2025.
Yeah. What I don't want is what we did this year. Like, oh, good. They have other games coming. We should probably not discount that there's other exclusives coming, right? But this year, it's going to be for first party. It's going to be May before we get a first party exclusive, right? That's 5 months of nothing for the year. The last game was November, right? Was Call of Duty. It's not exclusive, but first party release. So you're looking at 6 months before a game comes out, and that just seems kind of odd, right? They should be looking to have games release on a regular cadence. I know they're going to end the year end up with more than 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, whatever it is, right? But it's like, dude, I don't want all those games in 3 months. I want all those games spread across the year so I have time to play them. But that's what they're going to end up doing, right? Because, look, along with this, we have Flight Sim 2024. We know we're going to get that. We have Call of Duty. We know we're going to get that. So that's like 6 games already. On top of other games like Towerborn that we're supposed to be getting later. Stalker we're supposed to be getting later, right? And then there's potential for other things that we haven't even gotten announced yet, like Forza Horizon could potentially be coming out this year because they're due for a game release. You have South of Midnight and Clockwork Revolution are due this year, but maybe they get pushed out, like you're saying. Like, maybe we just need to have something for the beginning of the year. I don't want the next year to continue that pattern. I want, like, hey, January this, February this, March this, that kind of thing, right? Smaller game, bigger game, smaller game, bigger game, right? That's what they kind of need to start doing now. And not have everything bunched up to the end. I tend to agree with you. I don't want all these games coming out at the same time. I think it's a bad idea. And I think Ara would be the one that I would say move it out, because you don't want to compete with everything that comes out in the fall with that game, because you're just taking away potential for that game to get any traction. It's a perfect January, February game. Put it out in January, February, and let it have its own little time space to go get some people to play it. Because I think putting it out in fall along with a whole new console from Nintendo, potentially a PS5 Pro, on top of having, all these games from Xbox, I just don't think it's a good idea. I think you should move it out so it gets its own little breathing room. But yeah, that could be one of the other ones, is Indy just moves. It moves to, February or something, because there's too much. Like, there's too
and remember,
many games.
We also have Stalker 2 coming as well. And I know it's not first party, but it's, exclusive. It's an
exclusive.
So
yeah. And so we got that in September. Right. And if they have Beginning of September, end of September is Forza Horizon, for instance, how many weeks do you have left? Right. You're not going to go past first week.
Yeah. And then where do you stick Avowed in the fall?
Exactly.
November.
Where do you put all these games? Right. And it's like, okay, you got to slow down and figure out what the cadence is going to be. Yeah, so if it does mean maybe Indy moves, it moves. Right, because you don't want to put it next to other games, right?
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about Forza Horizon coming, and then we also have Stalker 2.
Towerborn.
Wow.
Then we have Call of Duty is going to be the punctuation mark. That's going to be the last game they release, and that'll be the first-ish week of November, right? So you've
Xbox
got
has a problem, and it's not lack of games.
it's too
It's
many
a plethora
up.
of games.
Yeah, it's too many bunched up.
They need to find out where to put these games. That's
exactly what
definitely
they did in
an issue.
right? Like clustered all the games at the end of the year. And it's like that's cool, but like at least there you still had a little breathing room between each game. That's going to become more and more of a problem here, right? As they have that many studios, you have to be like you have to make sure you have games in the beginning of the year, not just at the end of the year. So they're gonna have to be better about that. So if that means Indy has to be at the beginning of the year next year, that's fine. Whatever. We should just like make sure there's games like continuously.
Yeah. Again, I'm not saying, and I'm not wishing it for it to get pushed to next year, but I hope it's out at the end of this year. I want to play it at the end of this year.
The other option is they said that because they're going to do like a stealth drop during the June showcase. That's another possibility.
Yeah, because again, it's just 2024. They didn't put a month or a time frame,
summer or spring or whatever, right?
No season.
If it was fall, they would say fall. So maybe it is that it'll be ready right around the summer time frame, and then let's do a stealth drop at June showcase, or say, hey, it's out in a month or whatever it is, something like that.
Look at you. Yeah, coming up with the good stuff. I hear you. Yeah, it could very well be just that, man. Just going to throw on some gameplay here from Dragon's Dogma, the original. Yes, that's another game I'm waiting for. Dragon's Dogma 2. It should be out in March. I'm really liking Dragon's Dogma a lot. It's such a fun game. Anyways, this I'm just random gameplay. Anyways, again, so what would you give the show overall for you?
I would give it a solid B. I think it was the feedback I would have is that there weren't enough release dates that are solid. I understand, because like if you're saying this is kind of the schedule for the year, and we're not totally sure because they've gotten bitten so many times, that it's better to put like a general release instead of an actual release date. I get that, but I think they need to kind of solidify this show, especially with the number of studios. Remember, this does not include ABK, right? With the number of studios, and say, all right, this is going to be up to June showcase. So Developer Direct is up to June showcase, and we've got solid dates for everything we're showing you here. I think that's going to have to be kind of the pattern going forward, right? They have too many games to not do that, right? So they really do have to kind of just start putting that pattern together to say, hey, this is going to be the 3, 4, 5 games, whatever it is, that are coming out that are partnered with or exclusive, right? Because now you have Visions of Mana, for instance, just partnered with, and exclusive for the first 4 or 5 months of the year, right? So that we can just kind of get a roadmap for the next quarter and a half until June showcase, and then we'll kind of get the rest of the year's pattern, right? And then go from there. I think that would be better. So that was the part that really detracted it for me. Any one of these games is fine for me. I didn't have any problem with them. I was kind of taken aback by the non-first party thing with Visions of Mana. But it was kind of cool to see Square Enix there, right? So
yeah, speaking about Square Enix, what do you think about this? What do you think this says about the relationship between Square and Xbox?
They're pushing to make sure that the synonymousness of Square Enix and PlayStation is torn down a bit, right? That needs to start going away a bit. It's still heavily tilted that way. Their exclusives this year are Final Fantasy and Foam Stars, right? Those are the exclusives they're getting on the PlayStation side. Both of them Square Enix games. Yes, they have Rise of the Ronin as well, but they're exclusives. Those are the games they're starting to get, right? So they need to tear that down. It would be great to get exclusivity from Square to counter that narrative. I doubt that's going to happen, but that would be the counter. The other option, of course, is buy them. That would totally take away that whole narrative.
The other option is just buy them,
which they can do. But as far as doing this, it just slowly tears away at that. Hey, everything is always associated with Sony, right? And it starts opening it back up for other platforms, right? Octopath Traveler, for instance, was a Nintendo Switch exclusive for a while, right? So they had that over there. They might have more, right? That just keeps going with any given platform. They need to kind of open that up, right? They really tied themselves down for a couple of years to PlayStation, which has been a problem for them because it didn't really work out. Ultimately, they had to sell off their Western studios. Their games are not selling as well as they want, right? They're the ones saying that. And so they've been in for financial headache for a while. It'd be better for them to just be everywhere. So they kind of need to open that up. And this is just a marketing deal. The game is going to come out to everything, which is great. So it's just a marketing deal, and I think they should do more of these. But that is the thing. The partnership is getting better because I'm sure Phil is saying, hey, look, you can see your numbers. You did this with PlayStation. Here was the sales for Final Fantasy 16, for Final Fantasy 7, right? They didn't sell that well, right?
Mm-mm.
So it's like, okay, if that's not what you wanted, we're not saying just put it on Xbox. We're saying put it everywhere, right? PC is a massive market that we happily happen to own. But, you can come to the PC, you can come to Xbox, and you can come to PlayStation, right? And if Nintendo can handle the game, put it on Nintendo, right? And we can happily market it for you. If you want to put it in Game Pass, here's a revenue share you can automatically get. This just makes it easier for you, right? And they've been doing those kind of deals, right? They've been putting stuff in Game Pass as well. So I think this is kind of the thing they're going to have to play through. And I think it's better for them to say, I have an open partnership available, whether I want to go over to Sony or I want to go over to Microsoft or go over to Nintendo, and they can then work with us on various games. And we get some, flexibility instead of just being locked into one platform where anything bad could happen. And where are we left with? What are we left with? And you have to be careful with that, right? So I think their previous, head was really trying to push towards that PlayStation side. The new guy came in and said, no, we're going to make it wide open. And I think that's a good thing. And so you can see that partnership is working. And so that's why you're getting this. We're getting the Final Fantasy 14 beta starting next month, I think it is.
And there's also speculation that Final Fantasy 16 might be coming on later this year to Xbox. Yeah. I will warn people, though, if you have not played Final Fantasy 16 and it comes to Xbox, I'm not saying don't get it, but man, I wish there was a way you could try it before you buy it, because it
it in Game Pass.
Yeah, it really wasn't for me. I put in a lot of hours into that game. I thought the narrative was okay. I didn't think that was bad. It was just the gameplay overall for me was not good. The combat wasn't very good, and especially the combat against the bosses. They were all QTEs, basically. It was a visual spectacle more than it was really gameplay. It was against the bosses. And I just don't care for that. I want more in the way of combat for me. I don't know. I didn't care for it. I know a lot of people loved it, and it got really high review scores, but I think those review scores are kind of skewed to, I don't know what it is, the Final Fantasy name. I don't know what really did it, but the Final Fantasy 7 remake is so much better than Final Fantasy 16,
which also should eventually come over, right? That's
I don't know why that hasn't yet, but yeah, it should. But again, I do know why. Sony has just been throwing money at Square to keep that away, for sure.
But hey, whatever. Hopefully they do eventually make it over, right? So that would be very, very nice.
Cullen Prime loved Final Fantasy 16. I don't get that combat, man. It just...
And again, not every game is for
of course.
Variety. It's having variety is awesome. I hope it does well. So hopefully if they bring it over, it sells enough to make it some money, which is good. So that's the whole point of it, right? So, but as far as the show, I give it a solid 8. I think it was pretty good for me. I liked it. Again, it was the release dates that killed me. I didn't like not having release dates. I'm a little sick of the Senua thing. I just kind of want to see the game now. So it was a little like, okay, you're showing me the same things I've already kind of seen. Okay, that's nice. But,
Like, I think you just you kind of come to the same conclusion probably earlier than I did about this game just not being really for you.
It just looks so samey to me. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. So I mean, again, if you loved it, you're going to love this one. If you didn't like the first one, most likely you're not going to really care for Hellblade 2. But again, things could change. Who knows? It's in Game Pass. I'm going to try it. If I like it, I will definitely talk about it.
Because it gives me a chance to play through it. Like, if it was like 20, 30 hours, I don't think I'd play it. But if it's like 6, 8 hours, okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So Hargeet, apparently, well, I guess if you're into the whole sales things, people, apparently Xbox hardware sales were down last year. And that was despite a $150 price cut, by the way, for their Series S and X consoles. Is this at all a shock to you at all, Hargeet?
they're like up in comparison to where they were before, but they're not as high as PlayStation. I guess
Or
the shock
Nintendo,
was
yeah.
supposed to be that PlayStation is still outselling, even though it's at 500 versus 350, right? Because they heavily discounted the Series X. And to that I say, no, it's right in line with where it should be. My expectation for this generation, assuming it went to 27 or 28, right, 2027 or 2028, is that Xbox would sell about 60 million consoles and PlayStation would eclipse 100, right? That was just what I would expected. Guess where they are? And halfway through the console generation, they're at half those numbers. It's 50 to 30. So is this surprising to me? No. Right? The surprising part is that the industry doesn't realize that that's where things are. Like PlayStation is going to get over 100 million consoles sold. That's just the way it is. And Xbox will have absolute crap market share outside of the US. That's just standard practice for Xbox. They don't do well outside of the US. Right? Nope. To change that is what this is doing now. Right? When you start seeing people say, well, I want Indiana Jones on my PlayStation. Why isn't it there? Well, that's because you need to come to an Xbox if you want to play this game. Right? And the next game that they want to get the same reaction, and the next game you get the same reaction. When it gets to like 5 or 6 games, those same people will break down and buy an Xbox. That's what will happen. Right? That's how you get people onto your platform. You put out games that people want to play, and they're only there. Right? So if you keep putting up more games like that, you'll get people to buy the Xbox.
Well, for Xbox, the attraction is Game Pass. Let's clarify that, because
there is that.
The thing is for me, when I see that, the console didn't sell as well as PlayStation. Well, no shit. Xbox has Game Pass on PC as well. I mean, that is a factor. Whether or not you care for PC or not, because Game Pass is there, that is a factor in a lot of people's spending. If they have a PC, they're not going to buy an Xbox. They're just going to go Game Pass. The games are there, or just buy the games from the Xbox store. It's just, it's that way. PlayStation, they don't really do that yet. The day and date thing. Eventually, I think they have to. I know a lot of people argue with me on that, especially on the Sony side, but eventually I think they have to. It's just something to where I don't see how they're going to continue making enough money for them in their eyes, just doing what they're doing now. The whole exclusive thing to their platform only, day and date. We've seen the, financials and stuff and what they've come out and talked about internally with all those leaks. It didn't look very good. So, I mean,
I'm sure that they've done studies, right, to find out how many of their PS5 players would switch to PC, given a simultaneous release, right, versus how much they would have in incremental sales, because they've, when they do the marketing, that pushes for both platforms instead of just one platform, right? So when you do release it 2 years later, you're not spending $100 million in marketing. So, you're never really pushing that, hey, this game is now on PC. Whereas if you just simultaneously release it, right, and you say available on PS5 plus PC, right, you're getting that immediately, right? So people in Steam would say, hey, I'm going to go pick it up now because I just saw an ad for this game. It looks cool, and I can play it on Steam. Oh, awesome. I'm going to pick it up. Because that's what you want. You want the impulse buy, right? At like near full price. So that's what they should be looking for, right? And I don't know what what those numbers would be. I would only expect that they would be better than releasing it later and not doing any marketing, right? Because the latest release for them will be the next release will be Horizon Forbidden West, right? The one that you didn't like. But is there any marketing for that? The way they announced it was a blog post.
Interesting. There was a rumor that was put out recently, I think just the past couple of days, that something got leaked, apparently, or somebody's claiming anyway, that there was a leak that it showed that Ghost of Tsushima, Gran Turismo 7, a bunch of their games are going to PC very soon. So this year. So I don't know. And the thing is like, and I'm not saying that they're not making money on their exclusives and the way they're doing business right now. Of course they are. But these companies are looking for ways to get more money, generate even more revenue because they want it. All right. So in those leaks, in those documents, it showed that they were, basically like looking at ways that we talked about already a couple of, episodes ago, where they might even divide games into two parts and then sell each one for $50 a piece. So in essence, you're paying $100 per game. They're looking at that. They're also looking at selling games for $80 or $90 by 2027. That was even in the documents. So they're looking at upping prices in one form or another. It's going to happen. Sony's going to do it. And you know what happens when a market leader starts doing stuff like that? Others follow suit for sure. And so it's not a good thing, man. I already say these $70 prices are ridiculous. And if they go up to $80, $90, that's
they
terrible.
Probably will, though,
and
right?
They
Next
probably
gen comes
will.
along, they will probably go to $80, $90, $100, right? They will go to something higher. We'll see, but
Yeah, it's crazy. But also the other thing that came out of that article talking about the sales being down for Xbox and stuff, Hogwarts Legacy was the most sold game last year, beating out even Call of Duty, everything.
Yeah,
Hogwarts Legacy. And
what a freaking game. That game was so
game's
good.
amazing. Game's amazing. If anybody wants to complain about anything being, just look past it at the Game Awards, or just purposely look past, I should say, it was definitely Hogwarts Legacy. It was such a good game. Such a good game. So, biggest selling game of 2023. In Nintendo news, 8% of game developers say they're already working on projects for Nintendo Switch 2, Hargeet. Is this a little low considering that that's coming out this year? I mean,
that's a lot, isn't it?
Is 8% of developers a lot? I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wait a minute, but it's supposed to be coming out. I would assume the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be back compat. Hopefully, Nintendo. Hello.
We don't know.
Maybe
we don't know.
Better be. That's interesting, though.
They generally tend to not do that, right?
Yeah, I know.
They generally make you rebuy everything. This is who they are. There is a potential that it is backwards compatible, though. So we'll see. Like, they had a little bit of time where I think the GameCube to the Wii, you could do GameCube games on the Wii, and then Wii to the Wii U, you could do Wii games on the Wii U. I think outside of that, they don't really do backwards compatibility. So you basically are looking at getting everything again. I hope they do, though. Like, it makes sense to have the digital store just kind of move forward. They have the virtual consoles where they have the NES games, SNES games. Have they put N64? I think they put N64, and they put Sega. Was it Genesis or Master System? One of those into their virtual consoles, right, for the backwards compatibility stuff. So I hope they just continue that forward. But either way, I think 8% of the developers, like, a lot of development happens on mobile, right? So I don't know if all those games would translate over to a console. Maybe not. I don't know. But if it's the major big development houses are looking at putting games onto Switch, that's fantastic. That's a lot of development studios, right? So it just depends on the games. It does mean that there's potentially quite a launch lineup, right? There could be quite a few games coming, given that there's a lot of backlog of games that never came to the Switch that could come to the Switch too, right? So a whole bunch of games that were released over the 7-ish years, whatever, 6-7 year lifespan of the Switch, that couldn't go to that platform, but may be able to go onto Switch too, right? So there's certainly a potential for a whole bunch of older games to show up, plus some new games, right? So,
are you looking forward to the Switch too, man? Are you looking forward to it?
Of course. Yeah. Because, like, just their launch lineup of their games will be awesome. They'll have Mario alone. That alone will be enough, right? When you have a mainline Mario or mainline Zelda, I'm done. I'm already there. Like, just where do I pre-order, right? So I'm already going to be having it just for that. On top of that, they have Metroid Prime 4 that's ready to roll, right? That's been in the works for a long time. So they'll hopefully have that. There's a Bayonetta, I think it was, or Xenoblade. One of those is coming along as well. So they have that, and they have plenty of other games as well, right? So they're due for a Mario Kart. They're due for a Smash Brothers. They're I don't know if they're gonna have a Zelda update. My guess is yes, right? They're probably gonna update Tears of the Kingdom to run at faux 4K 60ish, right? So something like that. So that'd be kind of nice to see, right? But we'll see. So we'll see what they do with it. But I would expect them to at least have that mainline.
What do you mean
Mario
that'd be
game.
nice to see? Haven't you already seen that? Tears of the Kingdom in 4K?
I've seen a upres, right? So with the emulators on PC, you can do an upres, much like what Xbox does with older games, where it'll sort of upres it to 4K. It's not really 4K, but it's an upres.
Yeah.
And then it cycles it higher so you can run it at 60 frames. Whereas this would be native, so they could actually give you higher quality textures at 4K.
Yeah,
right? Up to them.
Do you really think they can build on a Switch 2 to make it 4K?
That's the plan. That's their intent.
Seriously.
It's going to be about the power of the Series S. So it'll do a 1440 target with DLSS to make it 4K.
Okay.
So that's their
interesting.
Plan. Now we'll see how they make it happen, but it's supposed to be that 4-ish teraflops.
DLSS is a game changer, man.
It is. Right? It's
really
going to be baked in DLSS to make it DLSS 3-ish, hopefully, to give you that 4K, at least 1440. And I think once you get beyond 1440, it's good enough, right? Once you get to that 1440 and higher, it's pretty good.
Nate Dogg. I'm sorry. Nate Dogg in the chat said Metroid 4 is overdue. Can't wait. Yeah, way overdue.
It is.
Gosh, they announced that back in when? 2018, 2017? So, like
a while.
It was a long time ago. It might have been before that. Holy crap. I forgot all about that.
So if that comes along, hopefully that comes up as a launch title. This could be a very cool year for Nintendo as well. And then you got like all these Xbox games, and PlayStation is going to give you something. I don't know what they're going to give you, but
yeah, we'll I'm going to look that up. When was that announced, by the way? It's not giving me something here. Oh, 2017.
Yeah, wow.
I was right. Crap. 2017 E3. Yeah, that was the last E3 Nintendo, I think, did.
Actually went to. Yeah.
Yeah, actually was there. Gosh, man. And it was just a splash screen. And people went nuts, including myself, because now, while I'm not a huge Nintendo fan, when I was younger, I loved Nintendo games. And Metroid was one of those games that freaking loved.
Yep.
So I was looking forward to another Metroid. And
yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be an interesting one, right? But it'll be very short supply as usual, right? When your Nintendo console comes out. So you'll have to try to get that pre-order in pretty fast.
Hargeet will have it day one, no doubt.
I will.
Hargeet, what's this about PlayStation using AI generated art for foam stars? What's this controversy surrounding it?
I don't know if it's controversial, but just like you were saying about Obsidian, right?
Or no, when I was talking about Palworld and their AI generated art for their game, and Obsidian, I guess, for the voices, but it's just becoming more and more of the thing. Now it's going to be similarly. They're looking to use AI to create. Was it the characters or was it like the environments? I think it was the characters or something. The characters, yeah.
And so this is just going to become more and more the norm. And the controversy is that they're using AI at all, right? But I guess this is just becoming a thing now. Like we should just expect this. Like going forward, you're going to see AI involved in a lot of games. And it allows the games to come out sooner, but it also allows you to get more interesting, variability, right? So, using AI, you can create different things, right? So, it will be interesting to see what they do with it. But I think, I don't know if it's controversial. I think it's more just informational that AI is here. It's already here and it's being used.
Yeah, no.
So
it is.
Just expect it more and more now. So Square is using it, and I think you're just going to see more and more studios do the same thing. There's going to be some involvement of AI somehow in almost all game development now. So, but yeah, an interesting twist that even Form Stars is the clone of Splatoon is just using AI as well.
Yeah,
I wonder if they're doing the same thing. Give me a character that looks a little bit like Splatoon's this character.
That's nuts.
Enough to make it pass.
Yeah, no, AI is something else, man. it's not AI, but I was reading an article this week about video games, and it was actually a study on how or if video games, violent video games in particular, affects people's empathy. And there was like a team of neuroscientists that got together, and they got a group of like, I think it was like 90 people. They were all men. And they took them and they divided them into two groups, and they had one group play a violent video game, and they took the same violent video game for the other group, but with the other group, it wasn't violent. They were just taking pictures of people rather than like shooting them, I guess, you know? And so they made them play this game for weeks, both groups doing the same thing for like weeks. And before they did that, by the way, they did like do brain scans and stuff on them to see how, you know, things would affect their brain. And then when they played these games, they came back, they did the scans and everything again, and they would do the scans after every play session too. They would do that every day. And it turned out that nothing, like they didn't see a difference in either group. So their findings were basically this. They said that the people that played the violent video games, there was no real effect to these people, but these are healthy individuals. So they stress that these are healthy-minded individuals. So if you're a healthy-minded individual, we don't see a correlation with like you losing empathy over, you know, shooting people in a video game or whatever. So I just thought it was a really cool article, and like, because we always heard about that. I'm sure, chat, you've heard people say, oh, you know, those games will do this to you, that to you. Oh, it'll make people violent. I know somebody that has kids that won't let them even play Fortnite. And these are teenagers. They're not even allowed to play Fortnite because it's violence.
Oh,
they think that really messes with your head. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. I mean, have you come into contact with people like that, maybe family, friends that might have said like, Hargeet, those games are not good for you?
No, but there are definitely people who are averse to even screen time, I guess, but just violence. And I don't know that it really is good or bad, but like, so part of the human male psyche, it's actually good to let that part of you get a release, right? It actually makes you more empathetic because you've let go of some of the anger and that, right? And then you just come back to your normal senses. So for guys, it's actually kind of a good thing. I don't know how that works with women. I'm not sure because I'm just not a psychologist, right? But for guys, it's just kind of like we act out physical all the time. That's just normal. That's just the way we are, right? We play things like football. Why do we do that? Because, well, we are aggressive towards each other, but it's all friendly fun. That's the point of it. We get our aggression out, and that cleanses our head. That's how we work, right? So I think it's a good thing. I think in general, it's a good thing. Now, are there individuals in the world that are mentally broken? And this could be the last straw? Sure. But then it could be anything. It could be you saw a missile attack somebody in the real world, and it bombed a hospital, and you're like, oh my God, I need to go like hurt people. Okay, well that happens. That happens. There's not much we can do about that. Unfortunately, it is what it is, right? But you can't just blame reality on things like that. Like people are broken. They're broken people. It's a very small percentage, but they're there, right? The majority of people aren't going to be affected that way. It is what it is, right? But for some people, it could break them. But then so could a violent movie. But like, seriously, all you need to do is turn on the news, and you will see plenty of disgusting violence. And that's real life violence, right? So it is what it is, right? What do you do with that, right? Like this, you can just say, turn it off. Well, you can't turn that off. It's real. Like, it's actually happening, right? So I always kind of shy away from those things. It's better for us to say, if there were a reaction, what can we do to mitigate it, right? And not say, turn it off. I'd say that the answer is reinforce people, but you don't have to. I think we can figure things out. If you're a broken individual, this is just a normal problem in society, right? And it gets very like long-winded as far as an answer, but look, there are people who get broken through some trauma that happens to them, and then they hold it in and they don't fix it. And if they don't fix it later, it can break. And that's usually when you get something like a school shooting, something stupid like that, right? That happens because that happened.
Yeah,
it's not because of violent video games. It's because they've held the trauma inside and don't know how to process it, and they eventually break.
That's why I like these scientific sort of studies happening because it helps validate those that, you know, are healthy-minded individuals that like to play these sort of games and stuff like us and stuff. And, you know, it reinforces that, you know, this stuff isn't that bad. I don't know, because I mean, I remember like in the 90s, I know there's some kids here probably like, I wasn't born till 95 or whatever. But anyways, in the 90s, our government, the administration at that time, they were going after things. Hargeet, you remember like violent music, video games, and they would like destroy them and make these public scenes of destroying this stuff because they thought it would cause people to get violent. And it's just, God, it's so ridiculous. So the more these studies happen, the more I like it. So I like to read up on things like that. But it was a really interesting study.
It's good to have the clear, evidence of it, right?
For sure.
Really make a difference.
For sure. But no, it was very cool. I'm glad you made the show, even though you weren't kind of feeling under the weather today. You said that you weren't really totally clear and you've been coughing from there. So, but no, thank you, Hargeet, for another awesome show today. It was a great show. And I want to thank everybody in the chat out there. Thank you, guys. Hargeet, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, so Chani on Discord, Chani on Xbox, and you can see me here at GameStop Live every Sunday at 6 p.m. U.S. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And then maybe at some point in the future we'll have RDX again.
Yeah, so hopefully.
So whenever that happens, we'll be back on Dealer's channel on Tuesdays, and then Wednesday I'm on Double Barrel Gaming. Boomstick excels his primetime gaming podcast, but Double Barrel Gaming is the channel, and that's 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Check that out as well. And every now and then I'll show up on Game On Daily. I'm still part of that. But the last episode was cool, but the one before that was when I was on, and we had a heated debate. It was great. You should check that out.
Wow. I guess the game sound started playing. I don't know why. I got to fix some stuff. Technical difficulties, guys. Sorry for that. It was the first show that I've done with this, new programs, completely different. So there's bound to be some technical stuff going on, but we apologize. Next week should be better. With that said, I want to thank everybody who came out to the show and thank everybody who's listening to this after. Again, remember, there were some technical difficulties here, and we